Hi, everybody. Welcome to show number 559. As you can see, there's no Julia here today. We've had a bit of excitement here this morning at the Beach Street Yacht Club. Tell you more about that when we get into the show. Thank you for joining us. We've got a lot of Fozy input today. Fozy Focus, Peter Taylor saying hi. And you see that Burgee over there, up there on above Julia. That is now the Beach Street Yacht Club Burgee, thanks to Peter Taylor and Meg Eamon. We're going to have a video from Blake Middleton and lots of other Fozy input in today's show 559. Let's get her off the dock. Welcome.
4, 3, 2, 1.
Hi, everybody. As you can see, I didn't even have time to go to hair and makeup this morning, so I slapped on a hat, and you'll just have to take me as I am because sadly, earlier this morning, and not a big deal, but Julia was getting dressed by herself rather than with her. She has a helper that comes in the mornings, and you know, Julia, she's very strong-willed and strong-minded, and she was going to do it herself. And took a bit of a fall, an easy fall onto the floor upstairs in the Commodore's quarters. And so that's slowed things down this morning, but she's fine. She's in her chair watching the show, and you might send her a text or a note and wish her a speedy back to the show. We're not doing a show Friday, as you know, because I'll be in New York. But we're going to miss her here in Studio B. If you're just joining us, as usual, we're live from Studio B here in San Francisco's beautiful Marina District, and it is a nice day. And lots of you on here already. Gordon Smith, good evening from Denmark, you fabulous lot. Clayton M. Blee is in Bourbon Country. Greg Phillips now in Newport, Rhode Island. Still, he's about to head back to Oz after his month? I think it's 3 months he's been in North America. Julie Ahrens, hi Julie. Fritz Mueller in Miami. Steve Ross from San Diego. Julia's okay. Just a little shaken, but not stirred, as you might say. Ted Ryman in Cape Town. Andrew Pindar, evening all from 38,000 feet over the Gulf of Phil Lawrence. St. Lawrence. Phil Lawrence. Yeah, thanks, Stingray, for your best wishes to Julia. Blake Middleton sending best vibes to Julia. She's fine. She just, I think, lost her balance and ended up on her keister, and not the first time it's happened, but it hadn't happened in a long time, so a bit of a shake-up when that happens, and we'll get this one on the road without her, and she's upstairs probably watching by now in her chair. We have a new, this is the pre-start. We have a new pre-start. Can you guess that yacht club? Probably Blake Middleton knows it. It's up in his neck of the woods, although not in Minnesota. It is in Michigan. Anybody know that club? Terrific club up near Traverse City, Michigan. And it is the Grand Traverse Yacht Club. Pre-start at the Grand Traverse Yacht Club. We like to kick this around, vary our race committee boats. This is a pretty nice setup. Sometimes the inland, this is not inland lakes, it's the Great Lakes, but sometimes they are on committee boats the pontoon boats. Sometimes they're just little ribs and everything in between the big boats we have been featuring, whether it's Chicago Yacht Club or John Emmett's club over there in Weymouth, and so on. In the pre-start, I want to thank very much Peter Sangmeister, our Fozy, who was on the show, as you probably all remember from Friday. It was a terrific show. Everybody loved it. Lots of positive comments about his sailing big boats and small, the latest with his fin sailing, but also with Johnny Mack, John McCausland, former Star World champ. He did the 100th anniversary Star Worlds as a crew, said he learned a lot and is looking forward to doing more sailing. Peter Taylor saying, yes, Peter was great. And indeed, his family is a terrific sailing family, and we are also lucky to have families that most of us, not everybody, that got us involved in the sport, keep us involved in the sport. And here is Peter with his twin brother and his younger brother, William, and his mom and dad, John and Sarah. Tong Sangmeister, terrific sailors, all at, I guess, some Christmas function last year. I thought we'd get right into this day in history, take it to the other side of the world, to the Antipodes. Do you know what happened on this day, the 11th of October, 1852, the year after AC0, as I like to call it, after the first America's Cup. Here's your first clue. Somebody down in Oz ought to get this. Hi, Ed Worley. Peter Taylor. Yeah, Peter was great. I mentioned that comment. John is a very busy young man, impressed at the breadth and amount of his sailing. Yeah, I think you meant Peter Sangmeister. Indeed, Gordon Smith. Thank you for that. Anybody know what happened on this day, October 11th, 1852? And another clue, it's down under. It's in Australia. It's the crest. This clue is the crest of the oldest university in Australia. The first Latin class in Oz. Stingray is asking. No, Stingray, it's not the first Latin class in Oz. University of Sydney was inaugurated. Bill Haynes gets it. William Haynes is correct. There is the beautiful main campus today of the University of Sydney, sometimes Sydney University, sometimes just shortened, as the kids would say, Sydney Uni. Terrific college, terrific university. It was established via the passage of the University of Sydney Act 1850 and was assented on October 1st by the governor, Charles Fitzroy's famous name. 2 years later, the university was inaugurated on this day, 11th of October, 1852, in the big schoolroom of what is now Sydney Grammar School, and so on and so forth. But by 1859, the last sentence said the university had moved to its current site in the Sydney suburb of, how do you pronounce this, Camperdown, I guess, of Camperdown. U of Sid is where Max Brennan is completing his studies. Indeed, Denise Peterson, Max Brennan, who sails at Balboa Yacht Club, has sailed with Jeffrey and against Jeffrey, a terrific sailor, is doing his, I think he went down there, didn't he, Denise, and sailed in Sydney, fell in love with the town, and said, I'm going to go to uni here. So Max Brennan, who is a Fozy, he's been on the show. Andrew McIrvin is saying hi from London. Sorry regarding Julie. Yep, she's fine. She's okay. And just lost her balance, and she's I think up in her chair now, probably watching the show, as I said. So thanks for your kind comments. Bill Wingrove, for anybody that's curious, Google Earth has an updated view of Fort Myers Beach, of course, where Hurricane Ian went inland on the west coast of Florida, and you can see the situation on the ground there. Denise Peterson, mother of Jeffrey Peterson, we're going to talk a little bit about later in the show. Yes, Max Brennan is now sailing with Cole Tapper at CYA. I assume you mean Denise, CYC, a cruising yacht club of Australia, studying physics. John Sangmeister chimes in. John, thanks again for your contributions to Friday's show and for letting us have your son, Peter, for that show. It's a really interesting show. Here's a nice video about the University of Sydney.
Is today the day you make your mark? Create the extraordinary and the inspirational. Is today the day you discover the cure? Find your voice. Reveal the truth, the answer, or a way forward. Is this the day you finish what you started and bring it gloriously to life? What will you start today? Because every day is full of possibilities.
I just think that's a terrific video. And of course, we're celebrating the inauguration, not the founding, but they finally got it off the ground a couple years later on the 11th of October, 1852, the University of Sydney, Leadership for Good. Yeah, it is a beautiful video. I agree, Stingray. And Gordon Smith saying, what's he saying here? He said, what happens to old accountants? They lose their balance. We see these uni videos here on our. A lot of us are big college football fans in the U.S. and we have the pro football, but college football is arguably more fun, and you got all these universities around. In fact, two levels of Division I, Division III, or maybe it's just Division II now, but there's only two divisions, and the upper main division where all the big schools play, and well, that famous Ohio State University, who I know there's a big fan on here from Cleveland named Julie Ahrens, and my alma mater, University of Michigan, John Sangmeister's alma mater, USC, are all 5-0 or 6-0 right now. So we'll see who gets to the national championship later this year, early next year. But we get to see these kinds of videos about all of those universities. They get a minute during each of these college football games by contract with the NCAA and whoever's the network televising it. And I think this is one of the best ones I have seen. This is one of the University of Sydney, of course, which is separate. Okay, what day is it today? I was going to ask Julia and tease with this photo. That's your first clue. That is that burgee that Peter Taylor convinced my daughter Meg. Meg was up here with her boyfriend from San Diego over the long weekend. We had a holiday on Monday, and you can see now up there we've replaced the Cruising Yacht Club burgee with the Beach Street Yacht Club burgee. And by the way, a week from Friday, the Commodore of the Cruising Yacht Club, the Cruising Club of America, I should say. I'm still got my Australian, get my earpiece buttoned up there. The Cruising Club of America, CCA, the Commodore is our longtime friend, Chris Otorowski from Seattle Yacht Club, also a member of New York. And Chris is going to be our guest a week from Friday. And it's the 100th anniversary of the Cruising Club of America. So we're going to, I digress, but we're going to get Chris finally he's been on the show once before, but going to do a serious segment next Friday, a week from this coming Friday. But back to the clue. What day is today? With Meg Eamon holding that burgee. And of course, that burgee is the St. Francis burgee. And we just replaced the two stars with a guitar and a glass of red wine, because as you all know, that's what we do here at the beach, the BS Yacht Club. We sing and drink. Cool burgee, banjos and boo, Stingray is saying. Yeah, the burgee it is a nice burgee. And Peter Taylor, thanks for inspiring Meg to do that. Yeah, the burgee it's a big step up. I mean, look at how nice it looks up there with Meg. One other point about the University of Sydney, beautiful university. Her husband, Marcel's daughter, graduated from there. She got her master's at Trinity College in Dublin. Well, there's somebody who's been around the world a bit. So back to what day is this today with my daughter, Meg. And here's your second clue, the color pink. And this is one of these UN, United Nations holidays, but I thought it was worth mentioning. International Day of the Girl Child. It's a Canadian video because it was the shortest, nicest one I could find. And today we celebrate children who are girls, including and especially, I guess, in Canada, thanks to that video. I don't know if anybody has a comment about that, but, I guess if you have 365 days a year, you can celebrate more than one holiday on each of those days. You get around to celebrating everybody. I don't know if that's correct or crotonic to have a girls' holiday and a boys' world holiday, but we're celebrating girls today anyway. And I love my daughter, Meg, and we'll celebrate her along with all of your other daughters and all the other girls around the world. Just one other note about the Edison Sailing Center, which got devastated in Hurricane Ian, and our friend Fozy Travis Mayer has started a GoFundMe. When we reported Friday, they were quickly up to 22K. They've only gone up another K here, 23,000 of the 50,000 goal here in the last few days. So we hope, if you're so inclined, to help them out because they got wiped out. The community sailing center facility, the boats, the docks, everything. And so I think it's a good cause. Again, just a program note, I will not be doing the show Friday because I'll be in New York at New York Yacht Club, 44th Street, the 44th Street Clubhouse, where we will be celebrating the America's Cup Hall of Fame induction for the class of 2022. Larry Ellison, who I'm reliably informed will not be there, but Dirk Kramers, born in the Netherlands, now living in the USA in the Northeast, terrific yacht designer, engineer, and a young-looking Dawn Riley. She's still pretty good looking, and a tough, bright sailor, also a Michigander. She grew up did know her when we were growing up because I'm a few years older than Dawn, but the three of them will be inducted, Larry in absentia, at the New York Yacht Club this coming Friday, and I will be there and not be doing a show because I'll be en route on this coming Friday. So it'll be dark, no show Friday. Let's get to the starting line. And as usual, we like to start with guess who? John Emmett, the coach's corner, and he files 2 reports today from Houston, from Texas Corinthian Yacht Club in Houston, where they are sailing. I think they started today, in fact, or yesterday or today. This is the ILCA 6 Women's World Championship and the ILCA 6, what we used to call the laser radial, the ILCA 7 or ILCA 6 Men's World Championship as well. And here was the preview video that John did yesterday for those 2 championships. Have a look.
Welcome to the 2022 ILCA Sailing World Championships. We're here in Houston for very good reason. Originally, the World Championships was meant to be held in China. Unfortunately, China has still got a 7-day quarantine in place, whereas it's very easy for all the competitors to travel to the USA as long as everyone's fully vaccinated. So here we are waiting for 6 days of high quality racing, and this is the final preparation. So, see you on the water. This championship seemed a long time coming. Why was that?
Yeah, so I agree. I'm also really happy to be here. It was a long way. Initially, we planned to have this championship in China, but unfortunately, because of COVID and all these restrictions, we had to find a new venue.
And it's worth mentioning this is the last Class Worlds for a couple of years, because next year will be won by World Sailing, and it's less than 2 years to the Olympic Games, so it's a bit of pressure on the sailors.
Time is short, yeah, we all know that. And you're right, I mean, next year it will be Hague, the first Olympic qualifier, and this is just one event before that. And I know most of the ladies here, they already preparing, they're looking for Paris.
Absolutely, I guess maybe some sailors will be beginning of their Olympic trials.
And I'm sure we have a Olympic champion sailing in this regatta, but we don't know yet.
Nearly 40 countries, nearly 100 sailors, is that right, in the women's fleet?
I'm super happy on that. We have a really great number of sailors and representing the different countries, and as you said, we have a champions here, we have a superstars here.
Looking forward to 6 great days of racing.
And good luck everyone. Enjoy regatta, enjoy event, enjoy Texas.
Thank you very much.
I think John's videos
It's the most important race of the day.
are getting better and better and better. Thanks for that. And as I said, that's from yesterday previewing the regatta. Now the burning question, as you all are asking, did he manage to break into the yacht club through the kitchen or otherwise to get us a tour of this terrific club? TCYC, Texas Corinthian Yacht Club, turns out junior sailors, top-notch sailors in this country, right up there with San Diego, with any number of other clubs in the country that are turning out lots of good sailors. Balboa Yacht Club, the Florida clubs up in the Northeast, and so on, even here at St. Francis, of course. The question, though, of whether he got into TCYC for a tour, well, here's your answer. John Emmett in Houston.
Hi, Tom, Julia, and all the Fozy. So, take 2, going to try and take you on a clubhouse tour. Today's the first day of racing, so probably need to be pretty quick and get on the water. But hopefully, I'm going to be able to get in today. It's been a really good couple of days. Hopefully, my little camera is going to be able to cope with the light. Let's turn you around. There you go, ILCA 6 World Championships 2022. Very happy to be here. Lily currently doing 7 days of quarantine. So I think that would have put off a lot of sailors. We've got a really nice lounge type room here. Got Andreas working hard. That's the class field representative. Nice set of binoculars there. Going to try try and get out on the water in a minute, but you can probably see the marks all ready to go. Very important. Bar, got social food going on every day, and it's quite a big club to walk through. So I'll try and keep this brief. Had a very nice dinner with the Commodore and his wife, first day of arriving, and as I said, you know, everybody's just been so friendly. I get the feeling the more I walk down here, I'm sort of going away from the bar into the posher area. So I'm probably most at home by the bar. Ah, there we go. So lots of people, lots of food all set out. Hi. Very well, thank you. And we got another little bit here, and leading through. I'm not sure how I get out. I think this is how I came in the other day, or tried to come in. I didn't make it. Yeah, I think that would have been the kitchen back entrance. So I'm going to turn you around, and you can see me again, and have a little chat about what's going on. So it's a 6-race series. We have a qualification and finals, which is when all the top sailors will be sailing against each other, and that's normally when the biggest differences in place take place, because everybody's racing against each other. Quite often people have used their discard and the pressure is really on. And for me, half of my job is just helping the sailors perform, to facilitate that and just, you know, forget about the pressure. As I say, I feel very at home, and I'm still learning American as opposed to English. I've got a local pub, I think it's called the Bayview Duck, where I've been more than once for Guinness and fish and chips. And believe it or not, the owner, his wife, used to live in Weymouth, and they were showing me photos of the trawler racing and all the stuff back made me feel it really is a small world in sailing. It's time for me to go and get on the water now, have a great show, and I suspect I will still be on the water when you're live, so catch you all in replay.
It is quite a club, isn't it? And you know, it's quite new because it must have gotten wiped out. I didn't have time to go do the research like I would normally hope to do, but they must have got wiped out in one of the recent hurricanes. James Bland, or I don't know if Jonathan Frank is on, but any of the Texans, maybe Nick Pye knows. I don't. Hi, Nick. Nice to see you on. Beautiful club. Greg Phillips is saying hi to Nick. Hope you're going well, Greg. Thanks, John Emmett. Yeah, I love to see the insides of these clubs, and as Baton Rouge says, Baton Kennan saying, everything is in Texas is bigger, but it's a long, you see it from the outside, it's a long kind of almost ranch-style, low clubhouse, and a lot of rooms, a lot of social space, and beautifully done. I love the look and the feel of the place. Thanks, John Emmett, for that. John Emmett Sailing, get to the front of the fleet. 2 videos today. Thanks very much. Continuing on now with the inspiration, I think, that John's given a lot of our FOSI. We've got several FOSI Focus videos today. Here is the first one with a little jazz music that I found that I thought went well with our sensitivities maybe, of our FOSI. This first one coming from Greg Phillips, who was in Newport, Rhode Island, maybe still is, but I know he's headed to Toronto to fly back to Oz. And as promised, he visited the Sailing Museum in Newport, Rhode Island, which was inaugurated a little earlier this year. And I'll start with that video, and then we'll get to Greg's report.
Welcome to the grand opening of the Sailing Museum, where we honor America's sailing heroes and Hall of Fame sailors. In the coming years, we hope to inspire young people, in fact, people of all ages, to understand and appreciate the sport of sailing.
Around here, we like to say that we believe sailing has something for everyone. We believe it can inspire, excite, teach, engage, include, and transform.
In Newport, we believe the presence of this museum will be an enormous success for all who choose to visit, work, and learn.
Sailing may start here, but the adventure extends far beyond our doors. Through the lens of the Hall of Famers and museum activities, we are working to support the sport, grow participation, and get more people into sailing and all that it offers on and off the water.
We believe those who walk through these doors, sailors and non-sailors alike, will have an extraordinary experience and understand why we love this sport and those who ply it so much.
I'm so excited to welcome our community and visitors from near and far to experience what we already know as sailors. There is a magic that happens when wind and water meet.
So everyone here right now can take pride that the doors are about to open. So please spend some time looking through the exhibits. Tell your friends to come experience the Sailing Museum.
We like it.
All of us can take pride that we're showing the way for many people that they too can enjoy their time on the water. So thank you.
I've not been, but by all accounts, it's been a big success. And as we said, Greg Phillips from Australia, who's been on his 3.5-month vacation in North America. You saw his reports from Halifax, from Nova Scotia, and just outside Halifax on previous shows. Well, he was at the museum, the Sailing Museum, and met with Heather Rusum, the executive director. Heather kindly agreed to meet him and give him the Cook's tour. And these are photos that he sent me over the last couple of days, including a video, little interview with Heather. And I just, from the looks of it, from not only that inaugural video with Gary and co, Gary Jobson, but everyone else is saying that the place is fantastic. And I think Greg Phillips agrees. Have a look.
Hi, Tom, Julia, and the Fosey.
Hello, Fosey.
I'm here with Heather Rusum from the Sailing Museum in Rhode Island, in Newport, Rhode Island. So, Heather, just tell us a bit about this place. It's fabulous.
Absolutely. Really excited. Can't wait for all the Fosey to come and visit. I was just sharing that the museum is actually in what used to be the press headquarters for the America's Cup from 1957 until 1983. We've got a number of beautiful half hulls here representing some of the winning and challenging designs over time, along with a host of other incredible artifacts from our Hall of Famers, both the National Sailing Hall of Fame and America's Cup Hall of Fame. And we get to celebrate sailing here. So we encourage everybody to come visit us at some point. We'll be bringing some exhibits online shortly as well to share with Fosey across the country and around the world.
So, Heather, this featured in the America's Cup film?
It was. I will be completely honest to say that I've only watched the first 10 minutes. I haven't gotten to watch the whole film yet, but I've been told by a number of people that there are a bunch of different images from inside this building in the film. And like I said, this was where the press headquarters was for many years, and there were some famous and infamous moments
Yes, I can imagine.
here in the building. Yeah. So delighted to have you guys here to visit.
Yeah. Well, I watched the movie last night, and a little bit, but there's some good parts in it, some really good parts, but it wasn't a true sailor. There's a lot of faults in the movie itself, if you're a sailor, but still enjoyed it. So, but it was interesting to know that this is where all the...
Yeah, where those press conferences were held.
And excellent.
Where, I mean, it's, Dyer Jones tells this story about this building, and along the north wall inside, all of the National Guard trucks were all lined up during those first few cycles. And along the west wall, which is now all doors and windows overlooking Newport Harbor, that was where all the typewriters were.
Oh, right.
And then here on the south wall, where we actually have our dome where you can walk in and kind of be immersed in the Sail GP racing, that's where the press stage was. And you can see, they hung all the different flags, and they had the tables set up there and all the microphones. So it's kind of neat, and a little bit of history and relevance to us being here.
Is Sail GP coming here?
That's a good question for Sail GP. I think that a lot of people locally would love to see that happen. We'll see what happens the next couple cycles.
We were last here in 2016. Newport's changed a lot.
It has. It's busy all year now.
Yeah.
For one thing. It used to be that you could find a parking space.
Yeah. I couldn't believe it. Is this the same place? It's just amazing. Well, Heather, thank you very much for giving us your time. We really appreciate
hello,
that.
Hello, Fosey.
Yeah.
Come and visit. We'll see you soon.
Okay. See ya.
There's your answer, Nick Pye. Great museum. Looking out for that wing keel. I think it's right there. Probably other examples of it as well. 74, 77. There is Oz 2 there between Heather and Greg in that nice video. Thanks again, Greg, for that. Here's just a couple other photos that Greg sent that I thought would be interesting to have a look at. And there are, as you said, several of you said, there are a lot of interactive displays. Again, I haven't been there. Sail GP Hall of Fame, yeah. Great interview. Greg's fully into this. And again, we invite any FOSI that are really interested in submitting videos. By all means, do it. And it doesn't have to be perfect. I can edit, do a little bit of editing, but just the raw stuff. Turn your iPhone or your Android phone on or record a video and send it along. As more and more of you doing, I think it gives us all a nice insight into not something as fancy as a sailing museum, but just to your corner of the sailing world. Now, apropos all of this, Greg did this video from when he was up in Halifax and just outside of Halifax last week, I guess it was. And Ed Worley agreeing that was a great report. And Alistair Murray, I see, has just signed on saying, "Good day, Tom and Julie. Loving our daylight savings. Is back from my ride, joining you live. Nice segment, Greg." Yeah, the Australians are on daylight time. We're still on it, and we're about to go off it. So we're getting closer in time. But what is it? In Sydney now, it's 7:33 instead of normally it'd be 6:33, at least in our summer and their winter. But speaking of Alistair Murray, he said, I really enjoyed Greg's report from the Ronston shop, the chandlery. And he wrote a note to Greg. They gave me permission to use this. He said, "Hi, Greg, I just wanted you to know how much I appreciated your piece on Sailing Illustrated from the chandlery in Nova Scotia. It brought a smile to my Ronstan face." Now what? And they don't know each other. Now, what's your story? Obviously an Aussie, but living where? Best regards, Alistair, who sent this terrific photo. If you can read this, I have caps. So it's part of our community. It's just nice to see guys getting to know and gals getting to know each other. Greg wrote back. He said, "Hi, Alistair. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I've used Ronstan on all my dinghies since I was 12. I'm now 70 and still use Ronstan on my laser. I race out of Paradise Point Sailing Club on the Gold Coast, and when I get back to Oz, I will start training for the ILCA." John Emmett will like this. "The ILCA 6 World Masters in Adelaide in 2024. They're a great class. You should join us. Peter Stevenson should too. A lot of fun." And Greg saying, "We are coming to the end of our Canadian USA 3.5 month road trip. Tomorrow we make our way back to Toronto and then fly home. But first, he has to sell the car." Smart boy. Buy a car. And the used car prices, because of the pandemic and because of inflation and so on, used car prices are holding their prices, maybe increased while he's been here. Bought a car and now is going to sell it. So good luck on that. And with that, I just have to thank again Alistair for that. And we have coming up later in the show, Alistair's awesome Aussie anecdotes. It's a little longer than usual. It's about 12, 13 minutes, but it's a very poignant story with another huge leader in our sport. We'll get to that later in the show. Speaking of Friends of Sailing Illustrated, another FOSI focus. Does anyone know this beautiful lake? Yeah, Julia needs that shirt, Stingray said. Yeah, Julia, if you're watching, maybe Alistair will send you that capsize. Sure, she just kind of gently sat down, and then getting her up can sometimes be a bit of a challenge. I think the Sunfish on display has the new style dagger board installed backwards. Bill Wingrove, he's a Sunfish expert. But back to the lake. This from another FOSI who's often on here. He's on here today. Do any of you recognize that beautiful lake just west of Minneapolis in the great state of Minnesota? Yes, that is from Blake Middleton, and that is Lake Minnetonka. You see my home state of Michigan there up in the Great Lakes area, and then Wisconsin on the west side of Lake Michigan, Chicago and Illinois below that, and then over to the left or west is Minnesota, and just west of Minneapolis, St. Paul is Lake Minnetonka, where there are two famously good sailing clubs. Blake says this aerial pic was taken in the middle of the start sequence I think it was Saturday, maybe Sunday, it was the 8th. So what is that? 8, 9, yeah, Saturday, the 8th. And it's cold. It's late in the season up there. And it was taken by a friend of Blake's who was flying over Lake Minnetonka with her brother. She looked down and said, "Oh, fly over there. I bet my friend Blake is down there running the race." And he says, "Yep, she was right." And Blake filed 2 videos, but here's the first one from last Saturday.
Hello, Julia, Tom, and everybody else around the world. This is Blake Middleton reporting live on tape anyway, from Wayzata Bay on lovely Lake Minnetonka on the 8th of October. And we are doing the Commodore Cup race, which is a series of 4 races over 4 Saturdays for Wayzata Yacht Club. The first 2 boats have just finished. We had an S279 and a J70 finish. And way in the background, can't quite line up there, is actually a high school regatta going on also in front of Wayzata Yacht Club. And the rest of the fleet is coming down the course, and I will point out that for a moment. So Minnetonka Yacht Club ended on September 24th. It's mostly scows. Wayzata Yacht Club is pretty much keel boats. And so Wayzata races actually go till almost Halloween every year. And this morning it was a lovely 36 degrees Fahrenheit this morning when we got up, and the temperature's up to high 40s, almost 50 now, so it's perfectly pleasant for a fall day in Minnesota. And if you look behind me, I think I can get a line up. We've got some of the other boats coming down toward the finish line, and we'll have to stop so I can actually be the race officer here. I have 2 other race officers with me. I've got Declan, who's hiding right there, and Ann, who's hiding over here, waving now, which is awesome. And they're basically keeping me in control so I don't screw up too badly. Our next finisher is going to be our lead J24 coming down with the blue spinnaker right there. And then we're going to have J22s and some more S279s and a few others. I think we had, how many boats did we have this morning?
36.
36 boats racing this morning. A lot of boats have already pulled out early because we have a situation where the water level is so low in Lake Minnetonka that boats are running aground just trying to get to the crane or even to get off their shore station lifts from their docks. So they are literally having to pull out earlier than they normally would to be able to pull this off. Okay, we're going to have a J24 finishing here, so I'm going to do a horn for them in a moment. Thank you for your patience. J24, 4, 5, 2, 0. And we've got a collection of other boats. It's hard to see in there, but there's actually boats from multiple fleets coming down the lake toward us, and I am enjoying time in my office. Nice to be able to share with all of you.
Well, thank you for sharing it with us, Blake. It was a really nice report. What's 36 Fahrenheit? Is that 1 or 2 degrees Celsius? So just above freezing. 32F is freezing. For those of you not on the imperial system of temperatures. And several of you said, where are the ice boats? Ice boating starts in a week. Well, the lakes probably don't freeze over till good enough for ice boating till more or less Christmas time. But a couple of Fritz Mueller recognized Lake Minnetonka. Alistair Murray says, I remember Blake well from my days in the early 90s sponsoring the Intercollegiate Yacht Racing Association. Great to see him again. Yeah, Blake's a terrific sailor. He was a coach at, Stanford and other places. I met him. Blake he came to work for us at US, what was then YRU, when I was executive director back in the late 70s, early 80s, I guess. And it's really nice of Blake, I think, to share that. And we've got some more from him. Great report, Fritz Mueller saying. And he sent a couple more photos of boats coming in. He said the club that keeps racing into October, mostly the keel boats. But the other thing he mentioned I suppose of note, this is fresh water. This is an inland lake. And most of the inland lake clubs that I know of, and I don't know if it's true down in Texas for you guys in Austin and in maybe you lift, some clubs lift the boats out and onto the hard stand. But a lot of the inland lakes have these boat hoists. One of the brands is called Shore Station, and there's 3 others that are quite popular. And you get into the shallow water, get the boat up onto the boat hoist, and then crank the boat up out of the water, and you can walk out of the boat. There's a little dock normally next to the boat hoist. You can then walk into the club on the dock. And that gets the boat up out of the water, which has 2 obvious benefits. One is that you don't get stuff growing on the bottom of the boat during the week. In the old days when you left the boats in the water, I can remember growing up, you had to get out there, tip the boat over on its side, take it onto the beach, tip it over on the side, wash the bottom before you went racing. That was a pain, tough on the rigging too. But the other thing, if the boat is in the water all the time and the motorboat waves and whatever else is going on shakes the hell out of the rig and starts to sometimes cause problems. So that was the reference from Blake to shore station to boat hoist. Ralph Roberts, I raced on Minnetonka back in 1957. Terrific lake, two terrific clubs, Wayzata Yacht Club and Minnetonka Yacht Club up there. And another photo that Blake sent, beautiful, crisp autumn day. Doesn't look like the colors are changing much yet, although maybe they just had their first cold snap. And here is one more video that Blake submitted.
Minnetonka Yacht Club in the background behind me. This club is the older club, was first founded in 1882, a little before my time, barely. And Minnetonka Yacht Club season, mostly scows, finished on September 24th, I believe. Wayzata Yacht Club, which is almost all keelboats, actually all keelboats, sails through the end of October, almost to Halloween, basically most years.
I know it's a little hard probably for Brits and maybe Aussies and Kiwis to appreciate, but most of the sailing here in North America, I mean, you have a lot of sailing on lakes and rivers in the UK, and maybe, harbors, of course, in New Zealand and Australia. But here in the States, these lakes, some of them are glacial leftovers when the glacier retreated 10,000 years ago. A piece of the glacier drops off and forms what's called a glacial moraine or a kettle bottom lake. There's different flavors of lakes. And some of them are just from long time wide spots in rivers, from water that's flowing into the middle of the country and down the Mississippi to New Orleans, for example, or into the Great Lakes, rivers flowing to the Great Lakes. But these lakes have been around, obviously, for a long time. Some of them are reservoirs where they've dammed up a river to create a reservoir for drinking and other water. But the bulk of the sailing in this country actually goes on these little ponds, these little lakes in Michigan, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Illinois, Texas, and South Carolina, North Carolina, and beyond. There's plenty of sailing on the coasts, too, in New England, in Chesapeake Bay, and here in California. But even the lakes in Colorado, up in the high altitudes outside of Denver, there's plenty of sailing that goes on in Aurora. What is it, Lake Aurora Lake, and there's a Dillon Reservoir, I think. So you find water and people figure out a way to sail. In fact, there's an Arizona yacht club where there's hardly any water at all. And they move around from reservoir to reservoir, lake to lake, wherever there's water, sort of the way the ice boaters move around to wherever there's ice in the wintertime. Thanks, Blake Middleton. That was a terrific report. And again, we encourage any of the FOSA, any of you that want to, send in a report from your local report. Locale would be always much appreciated. Bravo Zulu. We've been telling you about the U.S. Match Racing Championship that was took place this past weekend at Oak Cliff in New York, in Oyster Bay, and it was won by a guy who's had a hot streak, not only this past weekend, but for now the past 4 years. Pearson Potts, originally from New Orleans, Southern Yacht Club, and now is living in Newport. I don't know if he's a boat captain or a pro, or if he's a pro sailor full time, or what he's doing, if he has a day job other than racing, yacht racing. But he's a terrific sailor, now a member, I think, of New York Yacht Club, and he and his team first beat Jeffrey Peterson 3-0 in their first to win 3 semifinal. And then after that, he went on to sweep the finals against another terrific match racer named Chris Poole, who he's from New York, Long Island, I think, Long Island Sound. And these are two terrific match racers. Jeffrey's number 2 ranked in the world. Chris is right up there as well. And Pearson has now won 4 U.S. match racing championships. For the Prince of Wales Bowl we told you about in the, I think the last show, Oyster Bay, New York, on Sunday. Pearson Potts and his team of Bobby Savoy, Bryce Kopp, James Berry, Lucas Adams, and Abigail Preston, they're representing, I guess, Newport, Rhode Island, crossed the finish line with huge whoops and hugs to claim his 4th U.S. Match Racing Championship title. He's getting up there with Dave Perry, who's won, 5 or 6. Sailing with an all-American crew, he will also win the Prince of Wales Bowl for the 3rd time. I don't know what that means, why he hasn't won it, the Prince of Wales Bowl, for the 4th time. Chris Poole is ranked number 1 by World Sailing, Denise Peterson is saying, as of 9:30. So he beat number 1 and number 2. Chris Poole number 1 and Jeffrey Peterson number 2. And Steve Gruber saying Chris Poole is currently living in Connecticut. So nice thank you. Additions to that report. There's Jeffrey's team. He's the Golden State match racing team and a terrific group of guys sailing with him. Joe, Tyler, JC, Daniel, and of course Jeffrey there on the right. They finished third, and they also were pretty hot. They got to their semifinal, which, as you saw a moment ago, lost 3-0, but then they got to the petit finale, the consolation against Peter Holtz, who's another terrific sailor, and beat him 2-0. So Jeffrey was hot, just not as hot as Pearson Potts. So Pearson wins, Chris Poole second, Jeffrey third, Peter Holtz fourth, and down Nicole Briot from this yacht club here, St. Francis Yacht Club, an up-and-coming match racer, just a terrific sailor all around, managed a 6, so congrats also to her. And Denise Peterson adding that Peter Holtz is ranked number 4 by World Sailing. So you had a lot of top sailors there at the U.S. Match Racing Championships, Oyster Bay, New York, at Oak Cliff. Also, Bravo Zulu, we just terrific event in Saint-Tropez. We've been telling you about it. We have yet another wrap-up video, this for the second week, the Maxi Week, and I can't say enough about this event. How can you not want to go sailing after you see something like that? What a fabulous video. Thanks to Gilles Martin Raget and the other G's that produced that, just his colleagues and partners actually in the photo and video business. Nice stuff. Amazing stuff. And you all agree it's a shame you don't get to see sail handling that like that in the AC. Bill Wingrove saying there at the bottom, and kudos to Blake for those videos. And these Maxi videos, David James and everyone else agrees are really good. Fritz Mueller saying excellent video. Stingray saying these videos are stunning. And Ed Worley says, sums it up nicely. Really nice videos from this event. And they have been. Congratulations to our Fozy Andrew McIrvin, who, of course, is the Secretary General of the International Maxi Association. He's watching us, I think, from the airplane. He's en route at what he said, 30-some-odd thousand feet. And I look forward to having Andrew on the show again. We tried to get him on from Saint-Tropez, but his schedule, he was very busy, very hectic, and we'll get him back on in due course to wrap up the Maxi season for us. You know what? I couldn't find anything to say if it's correct or crutonic, so I just thought I'd leave the sliding because I know you all love this music so much. Is it correct or crutonic that we're doing this segment? We got to talk about that, but let's forget about that. America's Cup, there's some crutonicism and then some new stuff going on, and I thought we'd start with our cup date with finally, we've got a video from Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli. Have a look. It's in Italian, but still kind of cool.
Eccoci partiti di Bolina, ragazzi, muri a sinistra per il primo lato, tra un poco vireremo per andare alla boa di Bolina. Velocità 31 nodi, 48-49 twin angle, 2-1, va giù il board di sinistra, seguiamo bene le strisce rosse, un bel giro convinto e sul board di destra e ripartiamo. Non una delle migliori virate, ma dovremmo riuscire a far boa senza grossi problemi. Forziamo ancora un po' di più per non toccare la boa e ripoggiamo. Poggiamo, seguiamo le strisce rosse per la poppa, la barca accelera, stabilizziamo la rotta, 2, 1 e giù il foil per strambare. Quindi prima strambata, buona velocità. E stabilizziamo anche sulle mura a sinistra, velocità intorno ai 40 nodi, 43-44, non ci possiamo lamentare. Anche adesso devo stabilizzare un pochettino la rotta, pronti a strambare, in 3, 2, 1, il foil di sinistra va giù, aspettiamo che sia giù e giriamo la barca. Acceleriamo sulle nuove mura, sta accelerando bene, stabilizziamo. 40 nodi, bene, torniamo sulle nostre tracce rosse, pronti a orzare al gate e orziamo boa di destra, pelo sulla boa di destra, siamo ancora in gara, in 3, 2, 1 la prima virata della seconda bolina, cerchiamo di farla meglio, ok, sta riaccelerando, 19, 20, è ripartita, 24, sempre un attimo difficile l'uscita di virata con la barca che rallenta tanto, ricordiamoci che sotto i 20 nodi praticamente lo scafo tocca l'acqua, anche se di poco, l'accelerazione è comunque veloce. Pronti per l'ultimo lato di bolina, 2, 1, vado giù col foil, giro un po' più lentamente, vediamo se viene meglio, sì, e vado su col foil, 17, 18, 19, eccola che riaccelera. Siamo pronti per tagliare l'arrivo, per guadagnare di più buttiamo giù il foil di destra e facciamo un po' una ruberia finale. Eccoci qua.
So yeah, it's impressive, and obviously he's taking us through the simulator. And this is the first thing we've seen, except for maybe one or two commercials involving Luna Rossa with some kind of a men's cologne or something. So, yeah, it's in knots, calling Sail GP. They're using knots, as they should in Sail GP. Comments, excellent, that'd be fun to have a go at. Ted Ryman is saying, the realism in that simulator is impressive. And, of course, Stingray knows something about simulators, having been involved as an engineer and a co-jockey at Boeing for any number of years. How to go 40 knots with the sails luffing, David James is saying. Luca Craig down in Auckland, I went in simulator about 6 times when down at the viaduct. Great fun. The background was Auckland. When here, you steer and control the foil arms. Stingray's noting that background is Barcelona. Yeah, you can see that building. So, cool stuff. And I hope that's, one of you said, is that what the future of the, is that Ed? Yeah, Ed Worley said, is that the next step for the Cup? I hope that's not the next step for the Cup. I mean, it's gone too far already, in my never so humble opinion. But I wanted you to see that, even though it was in Italian. Most of you know Bolina, which is buoy, and you know Sinistra, which is left, and so on and so forth in Italian, and you get the idea. Now, there's also news about the AC-40s. They're releasing videos on this project, kind of left, right, and center. This was what, I'm not sure it's the latest one. I think it's from today. It may have been yesterday, but it seems to be the best one. Have a look. Yeah. Oh, sorry, I got a lead in. This is the photo I showed you from the other day, and from Richard Gladwell, with the headline, Defenders expected to move into the testing mode after the AC-40 commissioning ends, and it has ended now, and they're testing like crazy, and then they come in and are doing interviews with any number of the sailors and designers. Here is one of the latest.
Andy, thanks for chatting with us. First time we've had a chat. Can you give us your first impressions of the class AC-40?
Yeah, no, it's an awesome boat. You know, we've had a good few weeks sailing it now and commissioning it, and it's pretty cool just to see how quickly, you know, it's getting up to speed, and being able to today, you know, after only a couple of weeks out in it, being able to throw it around some buoys in the inner harbour there was pretty awesome.
Definitely. No, we loved seeing you putting it around the course and jibing on ley lines and pulling off some quite tidy mark roundings out of the box. It was quite impressive. Today, can you just talk us through the conditions you had on hoist and on the way out the harbour?
Yeah, you know, we started with a nice light nor'easter, which slowly built throughout the day as it got warmer. Yeah, we put up a few different jibs, checked the geometries, and then sailed around with the 1 for a bit, and then transitioned to the 3 once the breeze got up a bit more. Nice.
I mean, it may be me just looking, but it seemed that you were sailing quite a high angle at some stages today, a little bit slower and a little bit higher than you have done previously. Would that be fair?
Yeah. No, we're still just learning and playing around the different modes that the boat can sail upwind, and sailing out there past Rangi Light and a bit of a swell and a little bit more chop is good fun as well. Test it out.
Yeah, no, it was certainly fast. Well, you looked far smoother and more comfortable than us in the rib, launching from wave top to wave top. The boat looked very level, actually the most level, and the least fluctuation in ride height. Obviously, big puffs and a bear away, that seems to induce a bit of a lift out of the water. That's probably more energy going into the system. But all in all, you're finding it a controllable boat?
Yeah, 100%. You know, like we're obviously still commissioning and figuring out little bits and pieces with the autopilot. But today, you know, we're totally in control out there, and you know, even in those waves and that swell, you know, the boat, we were happy to throw it around, which was really cool.
Yeah, it was really awesome to watch. The most wind speed you saw today, 14, 15, something like that?
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
So, and the bottoms down around 6 or 7?
Yeah, 6 or 7 knots, yeah.
So we'll talk about takeoffs there. With the big full hoist number 1, you seem to be able to get boogieing in that sort of 7, 8 knot mark.
Yeah.
When you go to the 2, how much more wind speed do you need to foil?
Yeah, it's another couple knots.
Couple knots, it's up around the 10.
Yeah, we're trying some nice light air takeoffs in behind the lee of Rangi there today.
Yeah, exactly.
It's probably, you know, more our technique still, getting used to the controls on this one design boat and stuff. So yeah, it'll be cool to see how low we can push that wind speed for the takeoffs with the 1.
I understand, yeah. And are you finding that in that sort of 10 to 12 knot range, when you're all dialed in and foot on the gas, there's too much area in the 1, the 2 or the 3 is faster?
Yeah, it's pretty nice once you're up and airborne to get down sizes on the jib, you know, and just a bit less drag, and you can send it a bit more. Yeah.
Got you. So best speed today in that 14, 15 knot severe, what do you reckon you touched?
I'm not actually sure what we got up to today. I wasn't looking at the speed too much, you know. We were sitting on, you know, I think 25 to 30s upwind depending on the mode we were sailing, and then 32, 30, like sort of in the lighter stuff, 30s downwind, and then up to like maybe high 30s was sort of the modes, yeah.
Yep, okay, and so yeah, jibe angles, did we do any low to low, or was it all sort of that, you know, come out hot, keep it fast kind of thing?
Yeah, no, just trying to do some VMG jibes, you know, still getting comfy.
Yeah. Thank you very much, mate.
No worries, sweet.
Okay, that wasn't the most interesting video. There, if you go onto the ETNZ YouTube channel, there's and I'll probably run it next Tuesday since we're not having a show Friday. But there's a video with Nathan Outerridge, and he's explaining all the push buttons on the AC-40, and John Sangmeister saying autopilot UG. Well, they're saying, well, we got to have all these autopilot modes and controlling the ride height and the ride angle, so that the women and the youth, when they get into these AC-40s, are able to sail. That's what I gathered from the video anyway. If you want to wait till next Tuesday, I'll run that video. But in the meantime, you can go to their YouTube channel and see it. I don't know. I really, okay, I'm old, I'm a traditionalist, but I agree with a lot of you that we have taken, I had this conversation over at the YC last night with a friend from New York Yacht Club, and who says, well, nobody seems to know anything about the America's Cup here. And I said, yeah, you ask anybody here at the bar at St. Francis, when's the next cup? They don't know. Why? Because they don't care, because they don't relate to it. And at least Formula One, a lot of you are F1 fans. I am too, having worked in it, only because I worked in it for a while and I learned something about it, not because I'm a big motorhead or petrol head. But we all drive a car. We understand the brake and the accelerator, even if you don't have shift pedals. And, it's a car. But the boats now fly. The boats have autopilots. The boats are doing things that very few people in the sport are doing now or will ever do, other than a very small select number of people. And people wonder why no one's following the America's Cup, because it's lost the realm of relatability. Is that a word? I don't know. Nathan's report tells a story. Yeah, these new foilers are not true sailing. Greg Phillips is agreeing. Yeah, it's technology sailing, not technical sailing, Clayton. Alan Embley is saying. I'm afraid that's all true. And Bill Wingrove saying, never a word about AC in our neck of the woods, no interest at all. And I'm afraid that also goes through to Sail GP. It's a little more relatable. They are catamarans. Okay, they're foiling catamarans. And you might at some point get on a foiler, but probably not. Probably not. I had one of those Hobie trifoils. What were those called? I had one of those boats on Portage Lake, on the little lake where I grew up. And we had one of those for a while. It was fine if there was a lot of breeze, first of all, and you could go out and reach across the lake, jibe, and reach back and get up on the foils. And, it was early days for foiling, but it did foil, and it was fun, and the motorboats chased you. But that's all you could do is reach back and forth across the lake. Not too interesting. Not too interesting. Now, there's another video out. This about the attempted land speed record up in Oz by ETNZ. Pedro Foiling Sailor, a.k.a. Peter Stevenson, sent a note this morning saying, I don't know how they're ever going to pull this off, because it's been raining so much in Australia and that lake bed just sort of dried out. And now apparently there's a whole lot of rain predicted again. But they're having a real go. And here's the report with Glenn Ashton.
Every little day, every little learning's a great experience. I mean, we haven't pushed the speeds much over 150 kilometres an hour with this craft yet, so hopefully over the next few days we'll get that opportunity with the weather. The surface has really dried out quite a lot in the last 2 or 3 days. We've done a couple of tyre changes, a couple of configuration changes, and the plan for today is to basically sort of step up the speed and just seeing how the grip is on the surface. So another great step forwards with our program. Taking power on now. Oh, little drift there. Having to hold a little bit of right hand down, so I feel like I've got lots of grip at the back here. Still max power on the wing here. Slow bear away from here in a second. Okay, 154, slowing down. The changes we made to the tyres and the grip's been absolutely incredible, the difference to the craft. So some huge lessons there. Unfortunately, the breeze didn't quite blow as much as we were hoping today, but we still managed to sort of clock 156 kilometres an hour. That's the fastest run we've done to date. So plenty more in the tank, just need a bit more breeze. So we'll keep chipping away, but the guys have done a great job, and looking forward to getting it back and having a great debrief tonight on how we make the further gains from here. Yeah, it's going to rip when we get some breeze. Like, you just feel the power. Yeah. I think we might need to do a tail plane change.
I guess it would help if I turn my mic on, but it's an awesome platform. I agree, Stingray. I'm guessing they will shatter Bluebird's 203.9 kilometers per hour. So they still got another 50 kilometers per hour. They're doing 150 now. They got to get up north of 200. What is that in miles per hour? That's what, times 6.2, is it? That's 120, call it 130 miles an hour. So it's fast. And there's this big discussion about flying into Hong Kong, into Hiola Airport, into Kai Tak. I remember flying in there. That was great fun flying into that airport. Yeah, 125 miles an hour, Stingray says. Thank you, sir. But I like what they're doing. I have, as I've said in previous shows, I think they're learning a lot that we don't realize that they're learning. They're keeping their sponsors happy and producing some content that, you know, keeps us interested when there's not a lot else going on in the America's Cup other than what Alinghi's doing. And Alinghi, they're doing a lot. And this joint recon thing is, I don't know. I don't get that. 126.2 miles per hour is official. Thank you, Kimball Livingston. Got some mathematicians on here today. If you're just joining us, we're an hour and 6 minutes into the show. Julie is not with us today because she had a bit of a setback this morning. She slipped and ended up on her keister. No big deal. She seems fine. She's probably upstairs. I'm sure she is in her chair enjoying today's show as a spectator rather than as my co-host. And we wish her all the best, as I'm sure all of you do as well. Some more, this is looking forward, not just the America's Cup, but just in what, 10, 11 days, the 43rd Rolex Middle Sea Race is taking place, another one of these 600-milers. It's a famously good race, as you all know. It's been going on now for, well, on and off for quite some years. With the start of the 2022 Rolex Middle Sea Race just 3 weeks away, it's actually not 3 weeks, it's 10 days away. Another fascinating contest beckons. The entry list currently stands at 120 yachts representing 25 countries. Good turnout again. While COVID is no longer so much in the headlines, there are plenty of other uncertainties. I wonder what they're referring to here, besides inflation in Ukraine, in the world, but yet again, and energy. But yet again, the 606 Nautical Mile Classic is proving its global appeal. Starting from Grand Harbor in Valletta, in Malta, on Saturday the 22nd, to the crash of cannon fire from the saluting battery high above the water, the stage looks set for another cracking race. There's the race course. As you know, it's counterclockwise or anti-clockwise, as you from the Commonwealth might say. The Rolex Middle Sea Race Course, approximately 606 nautical miles long and sailed anti-clockwise, starting from Valletta and returning to Valletta. Had a few different courses over the years. In fact, last year they ended up shortening it, causing quite a furor, quite a controversy. Hopefully that it was for safety purposes, probably well done. Hopefully that doesn't happen again this year. That is the controversy. But here is yet another nice, I have a Rolex hat on, just because I grabbed it out of the top of the closet last minute to put something on because I hadn't, as I said, I didn't have time for hair and makeup this morning, obviously. And here's a nice video, though, from Rolex about the Middle Sea Race coming up.
Uniting spellbinding scenery, a complex racecourse, and an international fleet, the Rolex Middle Sea Race is undeniably one of the world's great offshore races. First held in 1968, this is a contest steeped in tradition, with its own distinct character. Located at the crossroads of the Mediterranean, starting and finishing against the impressive backdrop of Malta's capital Valletta, it comprises one of the most breathtaking and challenging racetracks. 606 nautical miles around Sicily and its myriad of outlying islands, narrow straits, 2 active volcanoes, open water passages, fluctuating and changeable conditions. This race has it all. Tactically, the race breaks down into identifiable segments, with each one exposing the crews to contrasting weather and sea states. Determination, flawless teamwork, and sharp decision-making are essential. This year marks 20 years of the partnership between race organisers, the Royal Malta Yacht Club, and long-standing title sponsor Rolex. Careful curation has seen the fleet increase in size and stature, as each year more and more sailors participate, widening the appeal. This year, an impressive fleet is set to add another memorable chapter to the race's history, with the winner securing their part in the growing legend. The 43rd edition of the Rolex Middle Sea Race commences on October 22nd.
Careful curation has led to more boats. Was that the line? That was an interesting use of the English language. So yeah, that race is coming up in 10 or 11 days, the 43rd edition of the Rolex Middle Sea Race, starting Saturday the 22nd. It will be streamed live, that is the start, on both Facebook and YouTube. They also have a good race tracker, and the start will be broadcast on TVM, TV Malta, from 10:30 Central European Standard Time. So enjoy that if you have a chance. Live ammo in the cannons would make it even more interesting. I don't think so, David Jane. Another nice video. Do they take Stromboli safely to port? Hopefully they don't have any volcanoes to make that race more lively. They go around an island north of Stromboli. Fog Machine is saying thank you for that. And now, the long-promised latest of Alistair's awesome anecdotes. It's a bit longer than normal, but this is a poignant story, well worth watching to the end.
G'day, Tom and Julia, and all the Fosey. Welcome to Alistair's awesome Aussie anecdote for the week. We took a while to come up with that one. And this is my segment where I present something with an Australian flavour every week. And John Emmett, you'll notice that I've shaved for the occasion. So since presenting that, that scruffy video from the boat at Hamilton Island, which I enjoyed delivering to you. So here we are this week, and on AAAA, Alistair's awesome Aussie anecdote, I'd like to present a whole variety of topics. And it can be about sailing, it can be about boats, which we've done, it can be about events, it can be lots of things. But I think it's really important to present the people that make up the fabric of sailing. And in every country, we've got our heroes, and they can be the sailors or the people behind the scenes. In every country, there's people that really make sailing what it is. And I'm sitting with one of them now.
Thank you.
Yeah. Now, I'd like to introduce you to Sean Hogan. And Sean Hogan is the president of Yachting Victoria. Now, I just think he's an interesting guy who contributes a hell of a lot. And he's got a very personal story, which I'd like him to share with us. I'll give you a bit of background of that in a minute. So we had a Australian Sailing Conference, a couple of weeks ago? Yeah, a few weeks ago. And at that conference, Sean, as the president, opened it. So can keep in mind there's probably 100 to 150 people in the room. And we talked about everything that matters on the Australian sailing agenda for the year. But Sean introduced it in a very personal way, and I'll perhaps guide Sean to that as we go. But before we do that, in recognising the heroes of the sport, we recognise the sailors, but there's a lot of heroes behind the scene, and I regard Sean as one of those. So I'd like Sean to very openly talk about what you contribute to the sport. I mean, you're a volunteer as the president.
Yeah.
You work tirelessly. You attend endless meetings, but I know you're involved on the training side. Give the viewers of Sailing Industry Illustrated a summary of what you do for the sport.
Well, I've been a lifelong sailor, and so that means from the age of 8 or 9, I've been racing all sorts of boats, dinghies, catamarans, keel boats, inshore, offshore, ocean racing. And right from the beginning, I think I got onto the class association. I was sailing when I was 13, and when I was 14, I was the official measurer for the class. And ever since then, I've enjoyed not just sailing, but also what you might call the administrative side of sailing, because I thought it gave another dimension to the sport for me. So I've been on club general and executive committees. I've been running instructor courses for nearly 30 years. I was on the training committee for over 25 years. As Alistair said, I'm currently the president of Yachting Victoria. I'm also the president of Sailability Victoria, which engenders disabled participation in sailing across the state. And I guess that it makes, for me, it makes sailing more than a sport. All the meetings you talk about and all the work, that's an honour for me to do that, because I know how much pleasure I get out of sailing, but I also know there's the guys in the rescue boats, there's the guys in the tower, there's the women, who are the race officers, there are the kids who are doing volunteer work around the club. I mean, we couldn't sail without all these people, and so I want to be one of those people that mean that everyone could go sailing. And I guess my primary issue with sailing really is safety. And, you know, when I was teaching people how to sail 30 years ago, I thought, this is great, I'm teaching people how to sail safely, but how can I have more impact? How can I have a broader impact? I thought, I know, I'll be an instructor, instructing the instructors to make sure that all our instructors that go through appreciate the importance of everyone learning how to sail safely. And so that was my primary reason for becoming what we call a senior instructor and running instructor courses. And that's for dinghies and keelboats.
Fantastic, Sean. Well, I know how much you contribute. It's just wonderful. So it was good to get a flavour of that. By the way, I didn't point out that we're sitting in a Melbourne restaurant in front of a graphic of a Melbourne tram.
We're about to get run down by a Melbourne tram.
which is one of the highlights of being in Melbourne, is seeing the very iconic Melbourne trams. Anyway, that's beside the point. Now, at the conference, the Australian Sailing Conference, you opened it in I thought it was a very unique and personal way. And I'd like to go through that journey with you, and I know that's okay with you, Sean. And it involves some health challenges, which is really where it came from, because it came from the heart. Can you please tell our friends on Sailing Illustrated about your journey, about what you've been through?
Yeah, well, it started a long time ago when my wife was diagnosed with breast cancer just after the birth of our second child. And the journey she went through with the operations and the radiation treatment, the chemotherapy and all that. And then about 12 years later, she got a different type of breast cancer in the other breast and bowel cancer, both at the same time. Now, she was very lucky that this was all caught early, but still it involved, you know, a lot of operations and, you know, the chemotherapy and the side effects and the radiation treatment. And it changed her a lot as a person. And, you know, I was on that journey with her. Then in early 2018, I was diagnosed with cancer, but it wasn't just cancer, it was sailor's cancer, melanoma, but I had it from head to toe. It was all the way through me. I had stage 4 metastatic melanoma, and I had tumours in my brain, my eye was swelling out because of the size of the tumour, and I had double vision, I couldn't see properly, and was going all pussy when I went through the radiation treatment. And I had, seriously, my PET scan of my whole body, I looked like a leopard. You couldn't count the number of tumours. There were so many of them. They're in my heart, my liver, my lungs, they were in my soft tissue, they were in muscles, they were everywhere. Anyway, the oncologist told me to get my affairs in order and they would find me a nice hospice. And I didn't even hear that. All I heard was, well, there's a treatment available that's been able to help some people and we think it might be able to help you. And this was immunotherapy. And because of the dire straits I was in, there's 2 streams of immunotherapy. They gave me both together at once. And this was supposed to go on every 2 weeks for 2 years. And I thought, well, that's okay, because I can sneak away from the office every second Friday and just tell them I'm at a meeting. No one needs to know anything about this. I'll just, you know, call me a cockeyed optimist. But I didn't think of dying once, not once. Now, the good news is that after 3 months of treatment, the cancer was gone, completely gone. My next scan, I was completely clear. A miracle of modern medical science, astonishing. But the side effects were horrific, and I was in and out of hospital with pneumonitis, colitis. I had psoriatic arthritis. I had chronic pain, chronic dizziness, chronic lethargy, and just, you know, like I could go on and on about all the pain that I've been in for the past 4 years, and all the times I've been in and out of hospital. I've spent 3 days in a coma in intensive care. I've been, you know, on so many drugs. I'm still on a lot of drugs, with all of their side effects as well. It's been incredibly, it was a bad enough journey until late last year when they diagnosed me with brain cancer. And they thought I had brain cancer. So then I had weeks to live because there's no real cure for brain cancer. except for immunotherapy. And I just thought, well, okay, I'm set up to go through immunotherapy again. I'm all set up to have the radiation treatment again. And then I had urgent brain surgery done. And
oh my God.
sheer luck, it was a misdiagnosis. There had been some swelling around where my tumour had been, and they got out the remnants of that tumour and everything around it and checked out everything else, and it was all okay. So, you know, that's twice I've been diagnosed with terminal cancer, and twice I've got away with it. So I don't know about third time lucky, but so that's how I opened the conference anyway.
Okay. Well, no, and the reason for it was because we were talking about that, and this is where I'd like to move on to, Sean, is so what got you through? What do you believe got you through?
What got me
Hard
through?
times.
What's got me through the past 4 years and all those incredible challenges, apart from family, is sailing. Not just being able to sail with my friends, but the astonishing support I got from my circle of sailing friends. I never once in 4 years have I ever asked for anything, and yet, you know, there's about a dozen people that just keep going out of their way to do amazing things for me, whether it's something simple like I can't drive, so I'll come around, I'll pick you up and I'll take you out for a coffee. Oh, well, we're going to have lunch, I'll come around, I'll pick you up and we'll go out for lunch. To come around and doing work on my house, it's embarrassing. Just embarrassing. But that's what got me through, because, you know, there's a lot of science around where energy comes from in our body, and of course there's hormones and everything else, and I'm lacking all of those. I have to have supplements. But I think I get a lot of energy from those friends, and that's what's got me through, and that's what's kept me so positive. And the fact that I'm now looking forward to doing some major ocean racing again next year, I've got something to look forward to, something to work towards, because I still have all these side effects, and people keep asking me, are you getting better? And I can't say, well, it's evolving, so it's changing, but I can't tell you whether it's better or not. Pain management, I've sort of got under control, but the chronic fatigue and lethargy is killing me at the moment, and I'm starting to get headaches, which I've been lucky enough not to have before. So it's evolving, and you know, but now I've got something to look forward to. I'm doing some serious ocean racing next year. But it's those friends, Alistair. Yeah. And not just the friends you make through sailing, but in the administration. So all the people at Australian Sailing I've been working with who all work for Australian Sailing, they've all been amazing as well.
Great story, Tom and Julia. It's a sailing community, and it exists all around the world. And the Sailing Illustrated community is a great one. It's part of that. So, Sean, in closing?
In closing...
What does sailing mean to you?
Well, you know, what I think the question I asked the group at that conference after all of that was, how do you explain to someone what sailing is when they come to you for the first time to try sailing? And how could I explain what I've been through and what it's meant to me to someone who's come for the first time? Because sailing's not just a sport or a pastime. It's not just a way of life. It's for me anyway. It's been my saviour. It's really has been. I've been able to get through all this rubbish because of sailing. And sailing has always been important to me because I've always been racing. I've been doing ocean racing. You know, of course, I've been fairly successful, not as successful as you, but you know, but that's almost irrelevant compared to the friends I've made and what they've done. And I know every sport has camaraderie and everything, but I tell you what, when you halfway across Bass Strait at 3 o'clock in the morning, you go down below and get someone out of their warm, dry bunk to come up on deck and put another reef in the main and change down that head sail. You soon find out what sort of friend they are and what sort of person they are. And I have to say that, you know, my friends are just awesome. And it's all through sailing.
Great. That is a great note to finish up on. Sean Hogan, I'm sure you'll agree that Sean's an awesome guy in an awesome sport. And it was terrific to hear his story. And I hope that that Tom and Julia, you've enjoyed it, and the Fosey as well. That's my signing off from AAAA for the week. And I'm sure you'll agree it's been a good one. Thanks very much, Sean.
Thank you, Alistair.
And see you later, guys.
Farewell, everyone.
Well, that is some story, isn't it? I mean, I get my energy from my sailing friends. They have been my savior. I'm paraphrasing, obviously, but What a story. What an amazing person. And Alistair, thank you so much for bringing that to us. The comments are flooding in. And, you know, Blake Middleton, who's had some serious health challenges of his own, saying, really nice story. Julie Ahrens, such wonderful news. A fighter has courage in spades, but much more than he knows. But friendship has a healing effect that is beyond measure. Stingray, dang, that goodness. Thank goodness for modern miracle wind shifts. Amazing story, Ted Ryman. Indeed. Gordon Smith, thought-worthy and heartwarming. My thanks for sharing this. Best of health, Gordon Smith. Thank you, sir. Julie Aaron saying again, sailing is the camaraderie that is unique in the sporting world. Well, I'm sure there are lots of other sports that have, as Sean said, there's lots of camaraderie in other sports, but there's some combination of within our sport, and I'm sure in others too, in particular, but of people, you have to be reasonably bright to get a sailboat off the dock, get it rigged and get it off the dock. You have to be reasonably conscientious and bright and thoughtful and cautious and aware of your surroundings, just not to hurt yourself in the conditions or whoever's sailing with you, let alone getting up in the middle of the Bass Strait in a horrific conditions and reefing the main and, shortening the jib and getting a smaller jib on whatever. But it's stories like that make me feel even, and I'm sure all of you, just even that more convinced that our sport is among the greatest on the face of the planet. This is why I don't fully understand single-handed sailing. Well, I think single-handed sailors are equally self-reliant, I think it's fantastic. Good luck, Sean. Ted Ryman is saying, sailing reveals a person's character and bonds people together who experience the same challenges. Ed Worley is saying, well said, Ed. Alistair, Sean, thank you very much for that story. That, of course, was Alistair's awesome Aussie anecdote, a little longer than we normally go. And Alistair said, well, edit any of it that you want and make it shorter. It was some, 13 minutes. And I watched it and a tear in my eye and just said, can't possibly edit a second of it. So we left it all, and I hope you all enjoyed it. Ed Worley, you're right. Sailing reveals a person's character quickly. And, you have to have a certain personality. You don't have to be an outgoing person like Andy Rose or Alistair or myself and probably all the rest of you. And you can be kind of not all that outgoing and shy and understated. I mean, John Sangmeister, who's our friend, and you saw his kid, who's a little more reserved than John is, but it's self-confidence, self-reliance, looking out for other people. And what I think makes sailors different from most people is the awareness of our surroundings, knowing what's going on around us. You could call a lot of different things, but sailors are better drivers than most people statistically. I once, when I was at USYRU, so one of the sports things came out, and they ranked sailors as apparently have fewer prangs, as you would say, traffic accidents, and so on. Situational awareness, and I think also our willingness to help out people, because once we're out in the water, it's just us and the conditions, and we have to take care of our fellow sailors. One of the differences with sailing vis-a-vis other sports is that the locker room is not just a cart ride away, Steve Gruber said. Steve also made a point, I remember at the top of the show saying that the Sailing Museum, he didn't remember anything about being more inclusive as a sport. And I think if you go back and watch that video, Steve, or find it on YouTube, actually the president, Gus Carlson, did say, that's one of our purposes here at the museum, is to celebrate the diversity of our sport and to help make it more diverse and more inclusive. Certainly we do here in San Francisco. It's the nature of the town, nature of our St. Francis Yacht Club. Let's go to the D block, and as I do, since we're doing Whiskey Tango Foxtrot, you're all saying, why don't I have a scarf to commemorate, celebrate Julie, who's upstairs watching in the Commodore's quarters. And while we were in that video, Meg was here, and she packed up some of her clothes that had been in a closet, and this was on the top of a bag that's going, I think, to the Salvation Army. So I got a scarf. I found it during that video. Whiskey Tango Foxtrot, speaking of girls and women, you want to close the wage gap? One of you sent this to me but didn't want to be ID'd. or thanked for it. Change your major from gender studies to electrical engineering. Go be a pro sailor. I thought that was funny. The guy at the furniture store told me the sofa would seat 5 people without any problems. Then it occurred to me, I don't think I know 5 people without any problems. Okay, silly, but good. Wasn't that okay? I thought it was okay. And then finally, this one, because some of you complained that I don't put, we put some girly photos on here. We're making women, and on this day of the International Day of the Young Girl, here's an International Day of the Old Naked Man sailing his boat with a. I could move that little Sailing Illustrated, but I don't think I will. But you got to have something to. You got to have something for everybody. We're a diverse show as well. And there you go. Peter Taylor is saying, if you take gender studies, I suggest the lab class. I'm sure Julia, I wish she were here. She's upstairs in Commodore's quarters in her the penthouse suite here at the Beach Street Yacht Club. I'm sure she's enjoying that. I've never sailed nude. Sailed in a Speedo. I think that's about it. I have to try that sometimes. Where's Julia when you need her? Julie Aarons is saying she's fake. She's shaking. Julia is shaking her finger at me in lieu of Julia doing that. Okay, that gets us to the finish line in 1 hour and 32 minutes into this one. And again, no show Friday because we've got the AC Hall of Fame induction at New York Yacht Club at 44th Street in Manhattan, and I'll be there for that. So no show this Friday, but we'll be back next Tuesday. We'll have Chris Ottorowski, the Commodore of the Cruising Club of America. Otto, as he's known among his sailing friends all over North America and beyond. Chris will be with us next Friday, next Friday, a week from Friday, celebrating the 100th anniversary of the centennial year of the Cruising Club of America. If Julia were here, she would say, and she's not, she would say, like, follow, and I can take the shot. There's the Jonathan Frank painting over there, which we hung behind her some time ago. Please like, follow, and share. It does help our stats, and comments, of course, are welcome, even in replay, as most of you watch us in replay. Support us on Patreon, if you would, please. Patreon.com/join/Sailing Illustrated. And I'd usually ask Julia at this point for if she has any other comments, last thoughts. And thanks to all of you. I really, Alistair, that was terrific. Thank you for recording, doing that segment with Sean. And again, any of you that want to send in videos, I don't promise that we'll use them, but so far we've used everything that's been sent in because they've all been so good. We do appreciate it very much. Ted Ryman, Ed Worley, Don Lunabos, thank you all. Blake Middleton, thank you. Julie upstairs. Meg in the background. John in Texas. And thanks to all of you. And we do appreciate all of you. And that's been our show number 559. We'll see you not this Friday, but next Tuesday, a week from today. In the meantime, we hope you have a great rest of your week and weekend. Sail fast, sail safe, have fun. Ciao for now.